episode 88 of PIV's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivets. So this week's episode of NXT was the go-home show to TakeOver Toronto, and it actually was a pretty good show. After the opening video, the show kicked off with a singles match between Liv Morgan and Peyton Royce with Billie Kay at her side. As soon as the bell rang, the two locked up. They went right after each other. No love lost between these two women, but Peyton got the upper hand early. She had Liv in a hold between the ropes, kind of like Tajiri's tarantula, but something similar. Liv was able to dodge an attack, and she made her comeback. She then went after Kay, and then locked in a guillotine on Peyton Royce. Kay then obviously felt the need to retaliate, and entered the ring to cause the DQ finish. There was a 2-on-1 attack for a little bit, and the crowd actually chanted Aaliyah, and she came out to even the odds. But Peyton Royce and Billie Kay took them both out, continuing the beatdown. As that was going on, Ember Moon made her way to the ring and hit him with a double crossbody. She and Liv then landed stereo dropkicks to send Billie Kay and Peyton Royce packing up the ramp. Give them credit for trying, but the fans don't seem to care for the most part for the four women. They do care about Ember Moon, obviously. Peyton Royce, Billie Kay are the two bitches of the NXT women's division, and the crowd obviously hates them for that reason. But what other reason besides the fact that they're going after these two should the fans care about Liv Morgan or Aaliyah? Just because they're going against the heels, that really doesn't build deep enough characters for the fans to get invested in. I think I remember this correctly, but Aaliyah was a heel for a little bit when she was competing a couple weeks ago. But they just seemed to flip her because they needed another babyface on the roster. Later in the show, the three babyfaces were interviewed about why they decided to come together and go after Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. They said, I think Aaliyah said that's because of the ignorance, that they think that they can run the division. Ember Moon said something about the fire burning inside. And Liv Morgan, with her horrible accent, I didn't realize how bad that was, said that she wanted to shut them up. She then challenged them to find a partner and find them three. And I guess they're going to meet in a match at TakeOver or maybe the week after. So it's going to be a 6-woman tag team match. As far as the match, it was whatever. It was more of a storyline builder instead of an actual match. We then saw the Almas heel turn on Alexander from Cedric Alexander last month, and the return was up next. We got a hype video for TakeOver. Paul Ellering will be in a shark cage above the ring during the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals. We then got a nice video recap of this year's tournament, and then that transitioned into the finals between Authors of Pain and TM61. Lights went out. When they came back on, the returning Elias Sampson was sitting down strumming his guitar at the top of the stage. As soon as they saw that, the crowd booed him immediately. I didn't think he had this much go away heat. He was gone for a few months, and as soon as he comes back, the crowd wants absolutely nothing to do with him. Honestly, it's amazing. He then walked to the ring after he said some words about the return and being a drifter or whatever. And it was Elias Sampson versus Nathan Cruz in the second match. Cruz got some offense early, but this was obviously a Sampson showcase match. He lifted Cruz up during a pin before the ref could count 3 to continue his offense. He then planted him with like a spinning neck breaker, like face plant, to get the win. It's a whatever match. Obviously, Elias Sampson's back, and the only thing that I'm happy about is that they actually have another name on the roster. They need depth on the NXT roster, and Elias Sampson gives them that at least. After the three babyface women had their interview segment, we were showing a recap of the DIY Revival feud leading up to their TakeOver Toronto match. After a card recap, we got another Bobby Roode Ty Dillinger video. We actually showed some old footage of Dillinger back when he was in OVW and the ECW brand of WWE. I was kind of in and out of wrestling at this point, so I really didn't know that Ty Dillinger was competing with WWE at this point, which, I mean, it's actually pretty cool to see that they could dig up this old footage. Main event of the show. Yeah, the show went pretty quickly. A lot of video recaps and such. The only one that didn't get a video recap was the Asuka-Mickie James match. Granted, they haven't been in the ring together, but you could still have like a timeline of Asuka's dominance in the NXT women's division leading up to this point, or something like that, or maybe even Mickie James highlights. Third match, Andrade Cien Almas versus Cedric Alexander. Like I said last week, this would have been a great TakeOver match, at least a kickoff or the opening match. These two go out there, do some flips, stuff like that get the crowd excited. It would have been a nice opening match. Almas was actually playing the heel role nicely. He was dodging, holding the ropes as Cedric went after him. He did his lay down pose in the middle of the ring, just being very cocky. And it honestly looks like the most confident he's been since being in NXT. Almas had Cedric in the corner. He ran up to him and then stopped and then slapped him right across the face, which fired Cedric up. He landed a couple forearm smashes, and Almas countered with another move and landed a nice running kick before going to a commercial. He then landed a boot in the corner and a Northern Light suplex for a near fall. He then focused on the left arm of Cedric, locking in an armbar and between the ropes. Cedric made another comeback, hit 2 running forearms and a nice backhand spring kick. He then continued with a dive to the outside. Almost got a near fall after a deadlifting powerbomb. Crowd actually almost bought it for a minute there. He went for a running boot again, but Cedric popped out with a nice lumbar check. It's like a backstabber, but he bends his opponent horizontally over his knees. After another near fall there, almost caught Cedric between the ropes and planted him with a spike DDT to get the win. Decent main event. I think it would have been better off as TakeOver opener. But for a TV main event, it was decent. Beginning was a little slow, though, but after the commercial break, things picked up. They were going back and forth, near falls, some big moves. And the near falls were very well timed. It could have ended right there, and I would have been all right with it. And honestly, I'm okay with Almas winning. He needed the win to define and build up his heel persona. Cedric Alexander is going to be here for a long time. He could afford the loss now because he'll easily pick it up somewhere down the line. And the show ended with one final build for the NXT title match between Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura. So that was this week's episode of NXT. Like I said, it was more hype for TakeOver Toronto than an actual match. I think they are doing another NXT taping while they're up in Toronto. So similar to what they do in Brooklyn. They're probably going to have another taping there at least. So speaking of NXT TakeOver Toronto, I'm here to give my predictions as the event takes place Saturday, November 19th. I'm going to start from the bottom. Ember Moon, Liv Morgan, and Aaliyah, they're going to defeat Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, and whoever their mystery partner is. This is more of Ember Moon not getting a loss. She's going to probably get the pin, or at least maybe Liv Morgan. It really doesn't matter. It's Ember Moon, and her team is going to get the win. Bobby Roode is going to defeat Ty Dillinger. Roode is the main event guy. He's going to get the win, which is probably going to be the opening match. It should be a good one. Ty Dillinger is going to put up a hell of a fight. The Toronto crowd will be behind him, but Bobby Roode is the guy going to the next level. He's going to get the win. Asuka is going to defeat Mickie James. The result is obvious. Mickie James is not going to win the NXT Women's Championship, but it should be a good match nonetheless. I'm actually looking forward to see Mickie James in the ring, especially with Asuka. TM61, I'm predicting will defeat Authors of Pain to hand them their first loss. It's going to be a tough match. It could actually go either way. With the decent build, though, that they're getting, TM61 is going to get their win back over Authors of Pain from a couple weeks ago and defeat Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering hanging above the ring. I wouldn't be surprised if he escapes somehow and interferes, but I'm going to go with TM61. They can't really have a heel team winning that tournament. This is the match where I have the most trouble thinking of a outcome here. I have about 3 different scenarios going through my head. The Revival versus DIY. Gargano and Ciampa can win. Revival move up to the main roster eventually, not right away. They could definitely use another tag team up there, especially on Raw. Revival win. DIY go to the Cruiserweight division and part their ways on NXT. Or Revival win. Ciampa turns on Gargano after yet another loss to the Revival, and then they go their separate ways anyway. What I'm hoping for and what I think will happen is DIY win. They definitely need the tag team titles now. If they lose again, then they're done. Which, again, could be a route that they're going to go. But I think they take the titles off the Revival. They could feud with TM61. They could feud with the Authors of Pain. There's not many other tag teams, so moving the Revival up to the main roster would be a little difficult for NXT right now, but I don't think they could do another month or 3 months of DIY versus Revival matches. That's probably going to be the match of the night, though, to be honest. These two teams have killed it, and it is a 2 out of 3 falls match. I do expect a 2-1 finish. I don't expect a clean sweep. That would be very surprising. Unless if the Revival wins 2-0 and then Gargano or Ciampa turns on Gargano there, then all hell breaks loose. But DIY win, 2 falls to 1 in what should be a great tag team title match. And that leads us to the main event. Shinsuke Nakamura will defeat Samoa Joe. There is really no reason to put the title back on Joe. It's Shinsuke Nakamura's NXT division. He's the face of the brand right now. And with guys like Bobby Roode, Austin Aries when he returns. There's other guys in the mix that Shinsuke can feud with. Samoa Joe's time in NXT is done. Bring him to the main roster. Bring him to SmackDown. I think it's time. They could definitely move him up quicker than they moved Finn Balor and some of the other guys up. So Shinsuke Nakamura will walk out of Toronto with the NXT Championship. Alright, that was episode 88, Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. I'll be back probably either Sunday or Monday with a recap of TakeOver Toronto. If you want, follow me on Twitter at @bpiv_sports. Rate, review, subscribe, comment on the show on YouTube. I post there every Thursday, except for a TakeOver special. I'll post it immediately. Other than that, I'll check back with you next week. Peace.